Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello everyone, I'm David Fiorazzo sitting beside Katie Petrick. Before we get started, hit that share button. Why? So we can educate more patriots and raise awareness around the country. So today in Texas, we're starting there where a school counselor just outed her school district, testifying that employees were told to hide student gender changes from parents and to report to Child Protective Services unsupportive parents. Now, the actual headline, a Texas school district says it didn't tell teachers to not out students to parents. This district counselor says that's a lie and that they were trained to call Child Protective Services, CPS, if parents didn't use correct pronouns. Check out this video.
As a district counselor, I want to speak to the agenda item that's addressing the duties and responsibilities of employees. In January, an article went public regarding a teacher training that instructed teachers and staff to not out students to their parents. Round Rock ISD responded to parent concerns by saying, and I quote, "Our district's practice is to include parents in their child's education. This slide is not a district-prepared training," end quotes. Well, it was not a district-prepared training, and we do strive to include parents in their child's education. We actually were advised to not tell parents about their child's preferred names and pronouns. If the child asked us not to, we were told we can encourage the student to tell their parent, but we were advised to only tell a parent if and when that parent specifically asked us, so that we weren't lying. We were also informed that if we believe a parent or guardian's unwillingness to use their child's preferred name and pronouns is causing harm to the child, as mandated reporters, we can contact CPS.
So before jumping over to Katie for comment, I love that guy's t-shirt. It says, "I don't co-parent with the government." Katie?
That's right. I think everyone noticed that t-shirt. And the thing is, we reported on this story initially when it was back there in January. And the fact that you have a school counselor actually outing the school, being like, no, but they did tell us to not tell the parents. Like, we were actually instructed to not tell the parents if their child decided, hey, I'm going to be a boy today. You can't be like, hey, mom and dad, by the way, little Johnny said, or it would be little Sally said he wants to be little Johnny today. And they actually had, slides from a PowerPoint with big graphics on it saying, do not tell the parents. And the fact that you actually finally have a counselor from within outing the school district in front of the school board, we need more whistleblowers is what this comes down to. We need more whistleblowers like that young counselor to actually stand up for the truth and say it to a school board, so maybe something can get done.
Yeah, well, parents, of course, were shocked. And but the school district denied these accusations. Yep. But then it was proven that they lied, right?
Of course it was proven that they lie. They always lie.
There you go.
Because we have the documents right there. And isn't that telling of what we have just in general today, right? You have the truth right there in front of you, and yet we are supposed to believe that you can't say anything against what your truth is, even though we have the truth right there. We have to just go along to get along, and that's where we've been.
So our schools are out here using teachers to affirm sexual degeneracy in children and not tell parents about what their kids are up to unless they're confronted.
Oh, of course.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. It's only if they're confronted with it. I just want to bring in something, though, from this same school district. Back in January, when this was first reported on, a mother, I'm not sure how you say her name, but Kiao Trang, grew up in communist Vietnam and said that what she's seen in schools across the nation and in her own school district here reminds her of her time living there. in communist Vietnam. I'll remind you again. She grew up in communist Vietnam, and she's saying what she sees right now in America is like when she grew up in communist Vietnam. So mom and dad, if you know any history, take that one to heart and think about it.
It's fascinating that we're hearing that more and more from people that have come over from communist countries. And it's like it's falling on deaf ears. They're trying to warn Americans. This only happens, this is communist policy. We try to talk about that and warn people, but people, gradualism, right? They're really, really making progress by gradualism.
Yeah, and so we have, again, Round Rock Independent School District. The counselor speaks up, says it to the school board, and then what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Where's the follow-up?
Where's the follow-up? What is actually going to happen? Is that counselor just either going to get bullied out of a job or just finally be like, you know what, I can't take this. This is why I'm outing. We're not quite sure what her intentions are outside of telling the truth, which should be intention enough. So we're going to have to see what happens. But because the school district, as you said, denied it, they're probably just going to be like, oh, well, they denied it, so that must mean it's the truth because we denied it. So they're not going to move forward with it.
By the way, I don't know how big Round Rock Independent School District in Texas is, but we talked about the story right here in Kiel, Wisconsin, where 3 8th-grade boys were they were accused of wasn't it
misgendering?
Misgendering, yeah. So they were, I think, expelled or
well,
not expelled, but
they were
suspended?
under. Well, here's the deal: they were under Title IX investigation from the school, and then guess what happened? They've had bomb threats, school shooting threats. How many umpteen times? And then all of a sudden we find out that the district's going to drop the Title IX investigation. So this is what it takes for us to just understand and actually carry out truth. We have to go to these extremes. And you can see it happening everywhere. If it's not happening in your own school district, you're one of the few left. But guess what? It's coming for you.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Wow. David, we have another example here of I didn't see it coming, except I really did see it coming. Today's I didn't see it coming, but really I did, is finding out of a high school that dropped its merit-based admission system, and then they saw a record number of failing grades. I did not see it coming.
How could that be?
Except I did see it coming. And this time it's happening from San Francisco's Lowell High School, which was, and I'm not going to say is, but was regarded as one of the best in the nation. They are now seeing a record number of D's and F's among their first batch of students who were admitted in the fall of 2021 through this new lottery system they decided to do instead of the merit-based system they've had for decades. And so here are some of the stats. Of the 620 first-year students admitted through the lottery, nearly 1 in 4, 24.4%, so almost 25%, of those 620 first-year students got at least one D or F. Wow. And that's according to the internal records that was obtained by the San Francisco Chronicle. And that marks a triple increase from the 7.9% from the fall 2020 and a 7.7% in the fall of 2019. So, I mean, correlation and causation here, but I'm going to say it's pretty evident that maybe some of this being not merit-based anymore may have caused a little bit of this spike in the D's and F's. I'm just saying.
I'm confused. Why would they feel the need to go to this system?
Oh, David, if you don't know by now, everything is inclusivity, equity, diversity. Is that what all three. Equity, more so equity, and then some diversity, and then inclusivity, and then everything is racist. So that's where we're at. That's the explanation. We have Principal Joe Ryan Dominguez, though, who attributed the rise in the failing grades to, it's just too many variables.
Just too many things to keep up with.
Too many
things
variables.
to figure out.
Last month, by the way, this same principal announced his resignation from the school district. Interesting how, again, coincidence? I think not. So his resignation from the school district. He cited a lack of well-organized systems, fiscal responsibility, and sound instructional practices as the path towards, there it is, equity.
Yes, there it
He
is.
said over a year of distance learning, half of our student body new to in-person instruction at the high school level, which that's just an out right there. They're not new to in-person instruction. Okay, at the high school level, sure. You've been at it for K through 8, though, so
Right.
that's fine. Anyway, and absences among our students and staff for COVID all explain this dip in performance. I wouldn't call that a dip in performance. If you go from 7.9% to like 25%, so 1 in 4 of your kids are failing, getting D's and F's, that's not a dip, that's a plummet. That's like you fell off the cliff and you're skidding down the side and you're going to need help getting back up. Now, according to, again, Joe Ryan Dominguez, he says it's important not to insinuate a cause on such a sensitive topic at the risk of shaming our students and teachers who have worked very hard in a difficult year. Truth is truth, and you failed.
Yep.
Ouch, it hurts. This is not shaming, and yes, it's difficult, but so is life. So
So,
how about you find a way to solve it?
well, they're saying that the system was called racist, resulting in an underrepresentation of Black and Hispanic students. Opponents say it would harm Asian students. So, is this another case where they're just trying to get everybody into the same group and try to equalize or normalize?
Yeah. So when you have, for decades long, San Francisco, you actually have a good San Francisco high school, and everything is going well. Students are graduating and learning how to read and write and do math and all
Really?
that. Yeah, there was actually someone who came out of there. And then all of a sudden, George Floyd happens, and that's why you changed to the lottery system. You know it's pure politics. That's what they said. It was in the wake of the George Floyd the whole situation
goodness.
that they then said, wait a minute, merit-based admissions, that's racist because of George Floyd there in Minnesota. So here in San Francisco, that means we have to change this.
Wow.
And that's when they, I guess, shined a light saying that the Black and Hispanic population was underrepresented. And then the Asian population, though, was overrepresented. And so now, isn't that racist because you're hurting them? We don't care about you whiteys because white's not a race.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's only about Blacks, Hispanics, and then Asians must be pulled down as well, according to this. And the thing is, Asian students actually make up a majority of the population for the school system, and that had been during the merit-based portion of it. And so this undermines the benefits of competitive academic environment, according to those who were like, hey, why are we doing this lottery system? So moving forward, I guess, they're saying that discussions regarding a long-term policy are still being held. And if you look at the facts, I would think you'd be like, well, nice little experiment we had
Tried
there.
that.
We only messed up some kids. Let's go back to the merit. But the outgoing, another one who's leaving the school district is the superintendent. So you have the high school principal and the superintendent who just happened to this year be jumping ship. Okay. Vincent Matthews has proposed an extension of the lottery system. Oh, he wants it to go on. And critics such as members of the Friends of Lowell group and Lowell's own Chinese Parent Advisory Council continue to lobby them to please, let's return to the old system where our kids were getting in based on knowing something. But you have to remember, this is the same San Francisco school board which introduced this lottery system at Lowell. They are the ones who saw 3 of their members removed back in February after the recall election, which we covered here on the show. And that was initiated over misplaced priorities, including what many felt were anti-Asian policies. So we had called it back then, the Tiger Moms had come out, as we saw in a video we had shown at the time. So the Asian parents are stepping up and taking action for their own children.
Didn't something like that happen in Loudoun County, Virginia, too? The Asian students? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so this isn't just California or San Francisco. Yeah, as we say, in almost every one of these stories, and I'm going to say almost, Katie's the expert on this, this is happening in different places across the country. We just happen to find out some of the most bizarre examples, I guess, right?
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
Before we move on, please do take a moment to consider supporting the work we do here at Freedom Project. If you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club with a little donation. And as a token of our appreciation, we will send you our trademark American Patriot tumbler. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. We do need your support so we can help continue to bring this information to you, including the next story, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it is California, so it makes perfect sense. A high school is punishing their seniors who are not vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine by simply not allowing them to walk in their graduation ceremony.
Wow.
Yeah, it's at Granada Hills Charter High School. They're holding a graduation ceremony, or they held it at this point, and unfortunately for 70 of the students, they don't get to walk with the rest of the 1,100, or I guess 1,030, because those 70 are not allowed to be there. And it's all because they don't have the COVID-19 vaccine. Yes, the policy there at Granada Hills is if you want to attend the graduation ceremony, you better have gotten jabbed. And that includes all you, mom, dad, grandma, cousin, uncle, neighbor. All students and their guests must be fully vaccinated to participate in and attend in-person activities and events.
School leaders say the rules protect the community, but families of the students affected say they are let down.
This is egregious. This is unfathomable. It's 2022 and it's happening in America. Absolutely not. We don't stand for it. We are here to protest, and we are here to stand with the kids that we consider heroes for standing up for their civil rights.
Granada Hills Charter has issued the following statement about its policy, saying, quote, "Our commitment to safety is ever more important as COVID cases are spiking again, and the prospect of outbreaks and new variants is significant."
Show your papers or you cannot graduate, or at least you cannot be part of the graduation ceremony. Is that what I'm hearing here? Or am I exaggerating by saying, show your papers?
Well, I mean, they had to provide proof that they got the jab, and I only can imagine how long it took to get everyone in there and whatnot. But you had those 70 people. By the way, you could participate online. But here's the real kicker. Here's the real kicker. Graduation ceremony?
Yeah.
It was outside.
Oh my goodness, that's even more insane. By the way, thank you parents who are speaking up. Thank you for those who actually held up signs. This is really, again, it's happening across the country. We're seeing very concerning events go on when people are starting to say, you can't do this because you are not vaccinated. You can't, like the last story, you can't do this if you say the wrong pronoun or whatever. That may have been the story before, but I know it was one of them. But this time it's the shot. And what's amazing about this whole thing, not to get into the weeds here, but in a typical vaccination, you have years and years and years of research that goes into this, right? And you have parents that you know, they go and find out, is this right for my child? Well, now schools are saying it doesn't matter what you think about the safety or the efficacy of this vaccine. They get the shot or they can't be part of their own class to graduate. Am I exaggerating at all?
No, you're not exaggerating. What will be interesting at this moment in time with COVID-19, with puberty blockers, with every experiment we are doing on our children to see how these 18-year-olds or, you know, children, I guess, go 5 to 18-year-olds right now in this time period as they grow up, what they become as members of the society. We already know a lot of the detriment that's happening. A lot of these kids, not a lot, some of these kids aren't even making it. We won't know because suicide rates have gone up. But we have this one student at Granada Hills who can't participate, and I think he kind of sums up what's happening with the other, I guess, 69 peers of his. He says, I feel like I've earned these events, like grad night, prom. I did all 4 years at this school. For them to take these events from me at my final moment, of course it's upsetting, because they can't attend anything this entire school year because they didn't take the jab.
So we don't have time, I wish we did, to get into this, but the school board stands by the science. Honest. I mean, this is what they're standing by the science of the effectiveness of the vaccine. Again, do we have the results long-term? Are there studies? Is there research? We know there's adverse events. People are having health issues because of the vaccine. Do we have long? No, we don't. But this school board stands by the science. Like I said, we don't have time. But coming up next, before we go, all right, well, education content is always the primary focus of the show. Before we go, let's leave you with some other stories worthy of a comment or two. And we start at George Brown College in Toronto, or Toronto. My wife is from there, Canada. After students are reportedly being required to sign a document on injustice. The statement, mandated through an IT waiver, requires students to acknowledge the indigenous people of Toronto and commit themselves to, quote, engage in resistance, to injustice. It reads, quote, we acknowledge this sacred land on which George Brown College operates as settlers, or the displanted. We benefit from the colonization of and genocide of the indigenous peoples of this land in order to engage in resistance and solidarity against the past and present injustices inflicted on the indigenous people of this land. It is imperative we constantly engage in acts of awareness and decolonization. Students cannot opt out or reject the statement. Those who oppose or refuse to sign the statement are reportedly barred from accessing their classes. This is your papers, please, in a different way, isn't it?
Basically, it is. I would say, give me my loonies back. That's Canadian dollars. Give me my loonies. I'm taking them elsewhere. Do not pay them any money because it's your money. You take it and you walk. Let's see how long they last.
Yeah, really, good point. Speaking of crazy things being forced on people, CNN might be heading in a different direction. Chris, is it Light or Licht? Liked. Anyway, CNN's new head honcho has reportedly demanded the network stop labeling all of its coverage breaking news. They don't break anything except for records for low ratings. In a memo, Licht reportedly said, quote, we are truth tellers, Pinocchio, focused on informing, not alarming our viewers. He went on to say, related complaints from, quote, people both inside and outside the organization are tired of the breaking news banner. I mean, it doesn't matter what you put a banner on it, right? It's propaganda, it's bias, it's not truth. But anyway, he took over the reins of CNN following the forced resignation of longtime network chief Jeff Zucker back in February. Finally, it's the end of fishing for quarters as the last public payphone in New York City has officially been retired. Oh my goodness. Watch this. Well, I mean, we're just going to play a video here. What would our great-grandparents say? No, the phone booth. What are we going to do with Superman? Anyway, it was a sight to be seen as the historic gem located on 7th Avenue and 50th Street in Midtown Manhattan finally hung up. The city started taking thousands of payphones off the streets back in 2015 and switched them out for public Wi-Fi hotspots. Now, for those who still seek the nostalgia, there are still 4 so-called Superman booths in Manhattan's Upper West Side, but they're mostly used by kids for Instagram photo shoots. Katie, do you remember using the old payphone back in the day?
I do indeed,
Yeah.
except I wouldn't pay. You do the 1-800-COLLECT or whatever, and you do the collect call and say, instead of saying your name, you say, come pick up Katie. And then you hang up the phone, and then my mom and dad didn't accept the call, and then they knew to come pick me up from school.
Oh my goodness.
That's the way we do it.
I'm learning more and more about you. There's so much more. Anyway, that wraps up this segment. A lot more to come next time.
All right, that will do it for this show. For all of us here at Freedom Project, please stay educated, my friends.